to the Surf Nation Football Focus Podcast.
He done it!
Designed to support players and parents with real insight into development, recruitment, and the decisions that matter most along the journey.
Hello and welcome back to another Football Focus, Surf Nation Football Focus chat. Today we're going to talk about going into playoff season, going into postseason play. This episode is aimed directly at parents who are experiencing that maybe for the first time. There is no doubt that this time of year can be emotional for everyone involved. There's a ton of travel. Of course, there's the pressure of the games themselves. There's also a lot of expectations going into this, both individually and collective. Conversations around playing time become a big factor. And then also there's the physical component that the players are going through on top of all those psychological factors. They also are going through physical variables around recovery and performance. And it is quite complex. Some families are experiencing this for the first time. So we thought, you know what, let's jump on a Surf Nation Football Focus chat. And this is what these podcast episodes are designed for. Hopefully to discuss things in a little bit more detail and discuss elements around life of youth soccer that maybe don't get talked about. So this is a great example of what we're trying to do. Before we start, please make sure you like, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and hopefully please let us know what topics you would like to see covered as well in the future. For this one, again, talking about postseason play, for this one I wanted to bring on a real expert here. Recently on the podcast with the coaches, I spoke with Match Fit Surf's Jordan Raper. Jordan is a general manager at the organization and is also a coach. So who better to talk about how to manage all the different variables around this postseason than Jordan? So what I wanted to share with you, and I thought his answer was one of the most honest and practical conversations that we've had around playoff soccer. What we want to do in today's episode is use Jordan's clips as the foundation, because I think his message is incredibly important for families right now. I first asked Jordan about what ways he would help parents at the club understand the emotional side around expectations, playing time, results. And this was what Jordan responded with. I thought this was brilliant.
It's changed since becoming a parent, right? Once you are a parent, you have a lot more empathy, I think. There's a couple of points there. So I think the first part is, because there's kind of two questions there, right? Is the travel, the cost. Why may I not see my son or daughter on the field as much? I think if you've done a good job through the year of being equitable with playing time, we always point to the fact that, hey, we've had 7, 8, 9 months. They've been at 100% of my training. They've played in every minute of my training session. They've played in at least 50% of the games. This is a small snapshot of our season, and I might not get it right. We might not win, but I'm going to coach what I see in the moment. I'm not going to think about what's happened, both positively and negatively, right? You might have a kid that plays more than they played all season long because in the moment it's working. So you give them that expectation, and you set it before you go, right? You don't have to go. I'm letting you know what's going to happen when we get there.
I thought that was outstanding from Jordan, because playoff soccer changes, environments change, and I think that's one of the hardest things for parents is separating one weekend from an entire season. And the reality is that coaches are making decisions in the moment. So in the games, you've got momentum, you've got energy, recovery, like we said, the physical components of some players recovering quicker than others. You've got certain matchups that the coach might do the homework on a team and understand they've played them before, and this is where they were dangerous. You've also, of course, got individual performance, and there's confidence in there as well. So sometimes players play more than expected, and sometimes players play less than expected. But what Jordan said was really stood out to me was this is a small snapshot of the season. I think that perspective really matters. A player's development is not defined by one playoff weekend. And honestly, I think the healthiest teams are usually the ones where expectations are communicated, like Jordan said, before the event rather than emotions taken over afterwards. For the most important point here, I believe, is that the playoff decision making component of playoff soccer is emotional for coaches too. So there are difficult decisions to be made whenever you get into the playoffs and all of a sudden expectations and the buzz builds around the club. These are difficult decisions for coaches as well. Nobody gets these coaches right all the time. We only have to look at Champions League soccer, Premier League soccer. Arne Slot this week. It'll be somebody else next week. Nobody gets these decisions right with the pressure on every single week. So there's pressure on everyone involved. And I think parents who can stay calm, supportive, balanced during this period can really, really help their child massively. Also, where I thought Jordan was exceptional was the recovery and downtime side of playoff tournaments. And honestly, this is where families can unintentionally maybe detract away from player performance, even without realizing it, where you might take a trip and it might be an exciting family moment, but maybe the energy is taken out of the player physically. There wasn't a lot of energy there to start with if they're playing 3-4 games in a week. And what I thought Jordan did a brilliant job as well. Here's another clip explaining sometimes we don't think about playoff weekends, recovery, environment management. These playoff trips can become emotionally and physically exhausting really, really quickly. So put yourself in the player's shoes for a couple of moments. You've got travel, you've got new hotels, different beds to sleep in, downtime, where, of course, kids don't really sit and recover like adults sit and recover. They're probably maybe playing games or maybe running around the hotel or a restaurant. You've got long gaps between the games, which again, we would say, well, that's time to lay down. But normally kids don't lay down at certain ages. You've got a ton of distractions that might be in a new environment. You've got social activities that's important that they're with their friends as well. And you've got late nights as well. Maybe that's through travel or maybe that's connected to the social activities. So honestly, sometimes the things that families are probably think that they're helping players recover, again, by having long gaps. Sometimes these long gaps can actually take away energy. So Jordan went into detail about how they try to manage those environments as a staff and what parents should understand about these postseason trips. Here it is.
The second part's really good because, like, if you go to places like San Diego and Seattle, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of downtime in those trips, and there's a lot of things you can do. San Diego, let's go to the beach for the rest of the day, which, isn't necessarily as productive as it could be. Seattle, let's go here, there, Pike Market, whatever it might be. So we set schedules that break up the day so that they can't go and do something for a long period of time. They can't go to a theme park or whatever it might be, right? So we will do, there's a recovery session set in there. There's a team meeting. There's maybe a walkthrough. You're just keeping the kids busy so that the downtime, we always tell the parents, like, you go off and do whatever you need to do. The kids need to be available. And the best way we've ever done it, Gary, and resources don't allow us to do it this way anymore. When we used to take the teams as a team, you'd take maybe two or three chaperones and you go as a team and they'd room together. The players much prefer it. Yeah. The coaches much prefer it. You got a feel of being in an environment together that's just really about winning. Because sometimes the other thing that happens is, okay, so we're not doing team dinners because we've got 4 or 5 teams there and we're all over the place. Now there can be just little groups, subgroups going out to dinner together, and the team element isn't as there. The chemistry isn't there in the same way. So ideally, you go out and do it that way. It's just very hard to do that nowadays with the way things are set up. So you've got to be clever, right? Like I say, try to break it up, try to do as much as you can with the team. Understanding, though, as a coach, you need your own break. If you're out there with 2, 3, 4 teams, you might have 3 or 4 games in a day. And yeah, you're not always the head coach, but you're invested emotionally, and it's draining. So that's the other part, right, about experience as a coach, is knowing how to manage your day, how to unwind, when to take a bit of time to yourself, when not to look at your phone. Yeah, so it's good. I mean, I think that's so the second part with the parents is that, hey, listen, this is a business trip.
Yep.
This is what we're, yes, want you to be able to spend time with your kids. Yes, we want them to be able to have some downtime time. And yeah, there are some great things to do in those areas, but we're here to play football, win games.
Again, I think those are really, really great points from Jordan. Understanding as parents that the playoff environments are physically and emotionally draining. So again, multiple games, you've got the nerves pre-game, you've got the quick recovery, you've got the pressure, sleeping in hotels, travel constantly. And what can happen sometimes is that we accidentally treat the trip like a normal trip during the year, where it's maybe one game and maybe the team's getting to know each other. So maybe as Jordan said, maybe the moment is more of social interaction. Maybe that's more a priority. But later on in the year, as the pressure increases, you want to keep the focus on the recovery and the rest. So things that may take away from the recovery could be long days, walking around in the sunshine, theme parks, as Jordan said, late nights, poor sleep, too much downtime, and too much emotional noise. And that none of those there will mean the performance will not be good, but those things can affect recovery, and those things can directly affect performance. So it doesn't mean that players shouldn't enjoy the experience. Of course, they're away with their friends, they're playing the game they love. Of course they should. But the best environments usually create a little bit of structure, as Jordan said. You've got that recovery time, you've got focus on hydration, you've got education around the rest, you've got the team connection, of course, and you've got that routine. And I loved how Jordan discussed the team chemistry and how difficult that now becomes traveling with team sports, because one of the most powerful things in soccer is that shared experience. We definitely believe that there. Those team dinners, those recovery sessions together, the meetings together, the downtime together, again, might be chasing each other around a hotel room. Those moments, those shared moments are really, really powerful for young players. So those environments and those moments matter. But the big point that we want to make with this podcast episode was emotional regulation matters too. How we feel during the playoffs. Players will feel pressure. They will feel a fear of mistakes, no doubt. They will feel a fear of disappointing people, no doubt. So sometimes the best thing that we can do as parents this time of the year is simplifying everything. And that is finishing up with almost like a checklist to make sure that we're delivering, like Jordan said, supporting them, encouraging the recovery, keeping perspective, and avoid turning every moment into a conversation about the future. So again, to repeat that, support the players, encourage recovery, keep perspective, and avoid turning every moment into a conversation about the future. So usually the players who perform the best, the teams that perform the best, as we all know, are the ones that have a certain amount of freedom emotionally to go out and play. So I wanted to share that from Jordan. I thought it was outstanding, such an honest and thoughtful conversation. And I wish you all the best as you approach the postseason. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you subscribe to Surf Nation Football Focus, whether it's on the Apple, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe. Please share it with any family that's heading into the playoff season, because I genuinely think this conversation can help our players, our families navigate around this environment in a really healthy way. So thanks so much for listening. I appreciate all your hard work, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.